Today, we're talking about rookies that can help you win your season. And that show is going to start right. What's going on, everybody? It's Bob's Three-Toed Warriors with Word on the Streets, Season 1, episode, I think it's 38. It's been a crazy recording weekend for me, and shows are in weird orders and all kinds of fun stuff, but it's somewhere around there. We're edging towards 50. We'll be there soon enough. So welcome back to the show. Those who have been listening and those who haven't been listening, welcome to the show. With me on the show, because we can never get the word show in enough, I got Robert, Mr. Fantasy Force, here with me. Robert, how you doing tonight, buddy? What's the word?
Oh, the word is fantastic.
There you go. It's the word on the streets.
Yeah, enjoying life right now. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely.
This is honestly the first podcast that I am guesting on since really taking over full time with the forecasters over there. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited.
Fantastic. I love it. That's always fun. So speaking of the forecasters, you got a lot going on, a lot of moving parts here. Why don't you tell people where you can be found as far as your written work, Twitter work, audio work, all that good stuff. Let them know the projects you got going on.
Yeah, sure thing. I don't have a ton of recent written work, but my written work is still available, found on I'm sorry, I forget the website. I'm going to look it up real quick because it's been a while. But you can find me, obviously, on Twitter at FantasyForceFB. If you're watching, you can see that on the screen. I host a Dynasty, now it's mostly redraft. Everyone's mostly redraft at this time. But
sure.
At Dynasty Force Pod with a good friend of mine named Billy Brisbane. So, yeah, we have a lot of fun over there. Like I said, we're head deep, diving into these fantasy football talk. Just did our rankings last week, and it was a great episode. Yeah, man. Like mainly the podcast is where I'm grinding right now. I'm about to start school again, going for my master's, so it's gonna be
What are we gonna be when we grow up?
It's a good question.
Isn't it though? What's the master's in?
The master's is in business analytics. I keep getting it confused with budget analysis for some reason, but yeah, business analytics.
Do you do a lot of auction drafts?
No, but I could.
We all could.
I'm sure I would have an advantage in that sense.
That's why I asked. Especially into some of the bigger, harder, more complex ones. It's really, really a spectacular thing. You should try it.
I've done a few auction mocks in the past, and I don't know, man. It's just hard to kind of put a dollar value on a player, and then kind of hit that limit where you're like, yeah, that's too much, or like this is a good deal and all this. So, I should definitely get into it more because it's a completely different way and arguably even more fair than the snake drafts that we do.
Sure. Yeah. One of my favorite ones, the auction, is the reality sports online format where it's auction, it's contracts, it's all that good stuff, and it really gets more like you're an NFL GM. So go dig into that. That's your homework. I love giving out homework on the show. You just got homework. I'm not even a damn teacher.
I tried, I want to say last year. If it wasn't last year, it was just the year before to get Dynasty League started on there, and people around me mainly, and it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, sadly. But there's always the future. I didn't try it this year, but I'm sure next year I will definitely do. It looks really fun, honestly.
Cool. I'll cheers to that, and my unofficial sponsor here, Mr. Jim Beam, honey. And you apologize to me because you were making your drink. Don't you ever apologize for making your drink when you hop on the show. What's wrong with you? All right. So I can be found on Twitter at Bob's Three-Toed, on YouTube at Bob's Three-Toed Warriors, and the Facebook group page is the Word on the Streets Fantasy Football group something to that effect. You'll find me. So there's not too many of those sitting out there. So there you go. That's the good stuff there. Where to find us, those kind of things. The live streams are now on Tuesdays, and during the season, we'll have Monday, Thursday, Friday shows for you. Right now, it's still, or Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Right now, it's still Monday and Thursday. And if you guys followed along with that, good luck. That didn't make any sense to me when I said it. So most importantly, let's get to the heart of the show. We're talking rookies that can be helpful to your fantasy team for redraft in 2020. Now, I know you Dynasty people are like, oh, crap, you tricked me. It's rookies. No, you're not getting the point. Even in Dynasty, you're still trying to win this year, chump. Yeah. So get in here, pay attention, take some notes, find out which rookies we think can help your team this season, either in a sneaky way or in a clear and obvious way. They got the I don't want to break too much into this, but here we go. So quick question for you, and I added this to the show doc. Don't know if you saw this or not. I just added it while I think you were making your drink. So what's a general strategy when it comes to rookies for you in redraft? Because that's can be a very touchy subject for people.
It can. And this remains with this year. This has been me in the past. This remains with this year. Mm-hmm. Generally, I tend to be off on everyone that is not a running back.
Sure.
The reason why is because obviously for running backs, it's easy to hit in that first year. You know, as long as they're getting the opportunity, the potential is there for them. They have the young legs, the ability to. It's not hard for a running back to know what to do on a play. You know, they're just kind of told where to go with the ball. So as long as they do that, they should, have success.
Pick it up
and we've seen so many rookies and a running back have success for so long now. Josh Jacobs and even David Montgomery was terrible last year, but he was still RB20. So even when they're bad, they're still okay.
Yeah, I think where a lot of rookie running backs get in trouble is in the pass blocking game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
that's a skill that they don't always walk in with.
Keyshawn Vaughn, I don't believe he's someone we're going to talk about, but
no, he's on our list.
Keyshawn Vaughn is someone I'm off on this year because Bruce Arians and that pass blocking, he does not work well with rookies, and
I protect old man Jenkins.
Jenkins, yes, great. Certain situations where I will be off on rookie running backs like Keyshawn Vaughn, but that's kind of rare. But as far as wide receivers, if they hit, they really only tend to hit in stretches as rookies. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather not buy into like Jalen Reagor is someone this year who I'm willing.
He's on our list.
Okay.
List.
But a quick little preview. I'm willing to buy Jalen Reagor because I think he'll actually be involved this year.
I agree.
And consistently and be needed. Whereas Jerry Jeudy, where he is, I'm sure he's on our list, but he's for sure a starter on that team. He's going to be utilized.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be needed to the point that Jalen Reagor, I think, will be needed because of how Philly is trending, how Philly always trends.
Yeah,
so
opportunity-wise.
And quarterbacks, year after year, we see quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield set the rookie record for touchdowns with 27 for a rookie, which is, that's great, but that's the record. Like that's the ceiling, and I'm just not like Kyler was great last year, but that's because he's a consistent runner. I don't know. Joe Burrow will probably run for 350, 400 yards, but besides him, who else is running the football? And it's like, unless you get that rushing upside, I'm not really interested in quarterbacks either because it's just a low ceiling to me.
The adaptation game, adapting to the speed of the NFL and everything going on.
And I've noticed too that I tend to be off offense, not offenses as a whole, because I will still buy the running back, but wide receivers and tight ends who have rookies as their quarterback. Like Cincinnati,
Mhm.
this season, AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, obviously, like I said, I'll be in on him. But, then there's questions about the third wide receiver, potentially
Yeah.
Auden Tate, T. Higgins, John
Who's he
Ross.
going to be to begin with?
Exactly. But I'm kind of off on all of them just because
Yeah.
what is Joe Burrow's real ceiling?
Yeah.
I don't see it being anywhere close to. I think he'd be lucky to hit 25 touchdowns, and that's not saying he's not a good quarterback. It's just rookies.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Joe Burrow because we're going to start with quarterbacks, and we got 3 of them on this list. I couldn't really find it. I was just kind of adding to your list here, and I really couldn't find anybody worth adding. And I even questioned 2 of them as it is, as far as being helpful for this year.
Yeah,
and
some of them are
yeah. So we got Burrow, Tua, and Herbert. So people are like, "What? Who are these guys?" Y'all got to tune in earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Got to hear when we're talking dynasty players. When we're talking about draft players. When we're talking mock drafts. You just got to learn these names, guys. Makes you stronger in your drafts. So, all right. So you can mention Justin. I don't say Justin Herbert.
Joey.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. You kind of just mentioned Joe Burrow a little there, and that you like him, but you're concerned about him. That's what I kind of picked up out of there. You want to see how he's going to adapt, how he's going to do, but you like that rushing floor, kind of like Allen had.
Yeah, definitely. I can check my rankings real quick. I think he's a little lower in my rankings, though. But honestly, Joe Burrow, I see him. His ceiling is probably like QB 10. I'm gonna go with. But I see him as more likely to be like a quarterback 15 overall. He's going to play 16 games and barring injury. So he's the one quarterback that's a rookie that you can really guarantee that for. So I mean that's a solid floor in a sense. And like I said, the rushing of Joe Burrow is underrated. So he's got a good floor for a rookie quarterback. I just don't, it's hard to imagine that it just clicks year one for any quarterback.
I can dig it. So, are you willing to take him in a draft? When would you say you're willing to take him?
Currently, I have him ranked as quarterback 21. So that's pretty low. Yeah. I have him behind guys like Daniel Jones, Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock, Baker Mayfield. Now, in a draft, it's a little different. Obviously, it depends on strategy. I'd be perfectly happy to take him as my quarterback too, because I think, like I said, he has the floor because he's going to be the starter. I think he's pro ready. And he does have some upside. Like I said, he could be a top 10 guy, in my opinion. Versus, if I were to take, QB2 between him and, say, like Daniel Jones, where, I don't think I can really count on consistency, I think I'd be more inclined to go with Joe Burrow there. So, obviously, it depends on the situation. But more drafts are tending to go towards super flex. So, like, if you're in a one quarterback redraft league, I probably wouldn't draft Joe Burrow personally. But if you were in a super flex draft, I'd feel comfortable with him around, I'm going to say 6 or 7 range.
Okay, I dig it. Yeah, so we're in a super flex draft together with 14 teams. And there are no quarterbacks available who will be starting a game this year. We're already working on the backups. Almost done. I might even be able to pick here live on the show. I probably won't, but we're to that point. You took your pick right before the draft. Yeah, Superflex, it definitely changes everything. So I think we want to focus here on one quarterback because I do love the Superflex format, but in that draft, everybody's getting taken. Let me ask you this question. On a single quarterback league, are you usually a guy who's taking 2 quarterbacks or just one?
I take one because I head into it. I never take quarterbacks early when I'm in a one quarterback league, and I will take my shot at the end of the draft.
Yep.
And plan to stream. I never plan to keep someone year long.
Sure.
And, if they light the world on fire, last year in a lot of my drafts in the very last round, I took Lamar Jackson, and it just happened that he lit the world on fire.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to stream.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I was completely ready to drop Lamar Jackson if need be, if he was just, ho-hum. And then I saw someone great on the waiver wire.
Will you take 2 quarterbacks if the rest of your league is taking 2? Will you still grab one? Because then your streaming options predictive will probably be a lot lower.
It's a tough question because I've never really been in that predicament. In a 1 quarterback league, I haven't. But I've been in a league where a few people have taken 2, but not necessarily all of them. Yeah. Still remains to be about less than half of the people tend to do it. Or I've been in a league. Excuse me. One team took 3 quarterbacks, and I forget what year. I want to say it was 2017, and it was Brady. Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, and I want to say like Cam Newton or something. And it was a pretty good group, but I believe they all had the same bye week. So he had no choice but to drop one. And then, he ended up dropping Ben Roethlisberger, and I was kind of just, sitting there needing a quarterback, waiting in the wings, picked him up, and I believe Ben finished as the quarterback too that season. So it worked out, so I think based on that, no, I don't think I would conform to the others. I think I'd be fine.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. We drafted with the friends and family league, a little more novice league, but they're getting very good and they're getting competitive from where they started. There were a lot of rookies in that league 3 years ago, and sometimes they're like, we're taking 1 quarterback, and this night they were like, we're taking 2. Oh wait, I'm taking 3. Like 2 people I think took 3. I'm like, come on, man, how am I supposed to stream if y'all are taking them all? But I get it. So all right, let's talk about the next 2 guys on your list. We're talking Tua and Herbert. Now, I'm guessing you're not drafting either one of those in a redraft league, but are you keeping your eye on them in waivers to see if they get a chance to play and start, and if they're looking good? Where are you sitting there? What's the thought there?
So obviously in Superflex leagues, both are being drafted because they should come in at some point this season. Who knows when? Sure. But I really don't expect Herbert to come in for. I mean, I'd be surprised if he came in at all this season. Maybe week 17 he shows up. But the Chargers, there's a lot of hype right now because of Hard Knocks. But the Chargers have a pretty solid first half of the season schedule. I'm going to pull it up real quick too.
I was doing the same thing.
But yeah, Tyrod Taylor does not need to do a lot. The Chargers are not a bad team. They just dealt with a ton of injuries last season. Week 1, they go up against the Bengals, which, they had the number 1 overall pick. Then the Chiefs, they won the Super Bowl, but then the Panthers, Buccaneers, the Saints are a tough matchup, but then they play the Jets, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Raiders. It's a pretty nice opening schedule for the Chargers. And I feel like I said, Tyrod is not going to have to do a lot in order to win those football games. And Tyrod, if there's one person on earth who loves Tyrod Taylor, it's Anthony Lynn, who's the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. So, like I said, I think he'll give Tyrod a legit shot here. And at least for the majority of the season, we're going to see Justin Herbert. I would not be surprised if he takes over midseason, but I'm not really counting on it,
Yeah. So when I look at that opening schedule and I see KC on there, I see Tampa Bay, New Orleans on there, those particular 3 teams, I see some high scoring, some high flying. Maybe they don't win the games, but I don't care if they win the games.
Right.
I just need the points. So if I took Tyrod early as my streaming quarterback to be, which is pretty much free in drafts, so why not? I often, when there's a rookie in the wings scenario, I often look to the bye week. I feel like a lot of coaches like to change those jerseys behind the center on the bye week just because it's easy time to plan and prep. Their bye week is week 10. Yeah.
Which
week
is far
10.
enough away to where if you get 9 games out of Tyrod Taylor in a 1-quarterback league, that's most of your season at that point. So
yeah. But is it scary enough away and too close to the playoffs to put him in? The rookie comes in, you're like, crap, I want to see him for a week or two, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Take him the game before the playoffs. Woo.
Now Tua is a completely different situation though, because I believe Ryan Fitzpatrick will begin the season as the starter, but the question is for how long. And they're quite the opposite from the Chargers in the sense of they have a really tough opening schedule.
Yeah. New England, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Seattle, San Francisco, my Denver Broncos, the Chargers, the Rams, Arizona, Jersey, and don't hit the bye week till week 11. Yeah, it's rough. One could make the argument that, they're not going to play Tua against those tough matchups, but one could make the argument that there's no point in them playing Ryan Fitzpatrick in those tough matchups. So, you could go either way. As long as it's those matchups, I'm not really looking at Tua because I just feel like it's tough to succeed in those tough matchups, especially go ahead, especially
as a rookie.
Yeah, I'd say it's tricky with that because I've had my cursor over the Fitzpatrick button as a streaming guy, and then looked at that schedule and be like, no, I can't stream that. I know he loves to chuck it, but the question
he was the quarterback 4 against New England to end the season.
He was. People remind us of that. Yes, very often. So the guy will chuck the ball. He doesn't care. Like, you want to intercept it? Go ahead. I don't care. I'm playing with house money at this point. When he runs, he doesn't slide like Russell Wilson. He's like, I'm going to tackle you. So it's pretty funny. So the question in that organization is, are they playing to win? Are they playing for a draft pick again? Not necessarily a new quarterback, but just draft picks and a better spot in the draft. So if that's the case, I don't think they care who's the quarterback. Also, how comfortable are they with Tua being fully healthy, fully ready to go? They want to give him even extra time to heal and get used to the reps and how they feel and the system and everything like that. It's a very
who knows?
Yeah.
The only rookie quarterback that I would be willing to draft at all is Joe Burrow, and that's including Superflex leagues. Like, I would take. I mean, like, I drafted Justin Herbert in our Superflex redraft league, but that's because I had Tyrod Taylor, and I just wanted to kind of make sure, like, if I
was going to grab him on the way back, but you took him from me, so I couldn't. Literally like 3-4 picks before me. So
if it's just harder to have those starters in Superflex leagues. So I just need to ensure that,
especially when it's 14 team. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
All right. So let's leave the quarterback realm for a second. We're gonna take a momentary shift, and it's gonna be brief, over to tight end. Let me read the list to you. All right, I'm done reading the list. I don't have any tight ends on my list that I am confident in starting this year. Yeah, maybe some guys can emerge, but I'm not confident drafting them in the draft. I'm gonna wait, see if they pop. Rookie tight ends usually take 2 or 3 years to be the man, and most of them just don't look that great. Their situations aren't phenomenal.
Look at TJ Hawkinson of last year. 1 week.
Yeah,
1 week.
First week.
It was a great week. All right, so quick side story. In my one, I'm in a few different money leagues and redraft, right?
Sure.
So I'm in one.
Don't say it too loud. The fiance's next to you.
Don't pay too much money. All right. So I'm in one, and 4th round, this guy, I guess he's just in love with him, but he takes TJ Hawkinson, and we're all like, oh wow, like, he's a rookie. Like, what are you doing? Like, rookie tight ends never pan out. And he's like, just watch. So you can imagine us that first week when TJ Hawkinson went off. We were like, what the hell did this man know that we didn't? What kind of insider knowledge? And then obviously, regress back to the mean. But
yeah,
it was crazy that first week for me because I was like, wow, this dude, he's got some knowledge.
Yeah.
But then he spent a 4th round pick on a rookie tight end and essentially threw the pick in the garbage.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you. That's when you look at the guy and say, "Oh, you dropped your sticker." What? I didn't drop my sticker. Are you sure? Because you definitely reached.
Yeah, you definitely should not have done that at the very least.
All right. Well, we can go 2 different directions here because that was all the tight end rookie talk I can do. We can go wide receiver. I got 3 on this list, or we can go to a little healthier list of running backs. You want to hit the wide receivers first, the shorter list, or the running backs?
We'll hit the wide receivers, save the main event, because the running backs, I'm sure, are what everyone wants to hear.
There you go. He's teasing it. Look at this guy. All right.
I have a podcast on my own, so I just know it.
There you go. At wide receiver, we got 3 on this list, and if you want to mention someone else, that's all good. You did mention a couple other people. Henry Ruggs, Jalen Reagor, and Justin Jefferson. Yeah, there are some other fantastic like CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy and stuff like that. I'm a Broncos fan, as y'all watching the YouTubes can see. All kinds of Bronco swag behind me, but
a beautiful Peyton jersey.
Yeah, Peyton. If you Terrell Davis is right below it, sleeves over there. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
I do see the sleeves.
Yeah. So for me, as you were mentioning earlier, with quarterbacks, tight ends, wide receivers, you got to have the right situation.
Right.
It's not dynasty. Cream doesn't rise to the top. Oh shit, that's the question I was going to ask you, and I didn't ask you earlier. And it probably keys in more on this and the quarterbacks. Does your strategy change at all when you're talking about rookies? And we're talking about I don't know if you play any keeper leagues. Keeper leagues usually get to keep 1 to 3 players. It usually costs you an extra round to 2 to 3 rounds as opposed to what you drafted them to last season.
Does
that change?
I do not play in any keeper leagues at the moment.
Okay. All right.
But I can imagine it would. But again, I mean,
I can tell you where I sit on it because I play in a couple keeper leagues. For me, and these are like a 16-round keeper league with no kicker and defense. It's fairly deep. There's not many people left. It's where your roster is deep enough, even though we start 3 flexes, your roster is deep enough where you can let a rookie that you see having an opportunity this year and a definite opportunity next year kind of sit and grow on you. Like I got Mecole Hardman for the 15th round this year.
Yeah.
There's a late shot, things like that.
Yeah.
So I would say this could be very helpful for you in a keeper league if you're in one of those, even more so than a regular league, but it's going to help you with both.
Definitely.
So, all right. Henry Ruggs, Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson. Keep my Lions there. And then anyone else you want to mention there? Yeah. So, Ruggs.
Ruggs, I've had a tough time kind of putting my finger on what I exactly, think about Henry Ruggs. Like, we're going to move him around. Okay, great. You should. We're going to get him the ball, so many different ways.
All the coach speak.
All right. Yeah, great. Then you have this talk about Bryan Edwards.
Yeah.
Looking like the best rookie out there. And he, for those of you who don't know, he was the 3rd round pick for they were Oakland at draft time, and they were Las Vegas, I believe.
Very confusing.
Yeah, the timing is off, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's the most dynamic of all of the rookie wide receivers. He's the one-touch guy, and he's kind of the reason. Like the Raiders wanted him because they play Kansas City twice a year, and they have to go up against Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. They don't really have an answer for that. Now here's their answer in Henry Ruggs. Get him.
Those air quotes for those who aren't watching.
But then you still have Derek Carr as your quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's had one good season 4 years ago. And how much are you willing to buy into a Derek Carr-led offense? Marcus Mariota was signed as the backup. How much am I willing to buy into a Marcus Mariota-led offense? Ruggs has sort of the similar appeal that Mecole Hardman had to me last season, where he will have those games, and he's a good best ball candidate, but
Sure.
he's not someone I'm really excited to draft and redraft. Like I said, he's gonna have those games, but it's just gonna be hard to rely on.
I can completely buy that. So I don't know if you saw it on Twitter or not, but me and one of my league mates, Mr. BK2 Cole, Mr. Doomsday D, what's up, chump? He more air quotes called me out on Twitter and offered me a trade as he called me out for my rugs, which I had ranked around 35 at the time, and I think I still do looking at it, and my Rager, which I had all the way down at 60. Now I have it 39, closer, and that was because I had changed some of the workload stuff with some of the players, and it's what I think is reasonable. We'll see. That Eagles team is very
a little more reasonable, but
it was a dynasty league, so I got out on technicality. Because I think that for not regular, for Ruggs, he should walk in as the 1-2, either or on the team. He has the opportunity to play. That's one of the biggest deals you can have on a fantasy team is the opportunity. You got to start there. He has the opportunity from day one. Rager might have the opportunity on day one.
Yeah,
he might be behind, the other two guys if they're A, healthy, and B, not suspended, things like that.
They have Greg Ward, I believe, starter over Jalen Rager right now on the depth chart.
Yeah, I saw that, and he's in my queue. That pick comes up on this round. He's in there since I couldn't get Corey Davis. Whatever. So there you go. Somebody, right? It's the 16th round, so who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the opportunity deal, and I could see it, but then I can't stand the quarterback scenario over in Oakland. Or damn it, now I get it. Las Vegas, thank you. Can't stand the quarterback scenario. It's not that Carr's a bad quarterback. It's just doesn't.
He's not. He arguably has the lowest ceiling of any quarterback starting. Other than, you could even argue Mitch Trubisky's ceiling is higher if he actually runs the football like he did the year before last. So, it's just, do you really want to buy into that offense?
Yeah.
It's tough to make that argument.
So that's why I have a tough time with it, and I'm still taking Ruggs in Dynasty over Rager all day long. So, all right, we'll leave those two behind. They can help your team. I'm definitely not plugging them in as my 2, at least not early in the season. Will I plug either one of those in as my 3, my 4? I could see myself maybe plugging Ruggs in as my 3, Rager in as my 4 early in the season, and then seeing how it develops as it goes, depending on how many flex spots you have. So
Ruggs could be one of those guys where, you're down by a lot heading into like a Monday night game or something, and you just gotta take the shot. Henry Ruggs could, he is a guy who could drop 30, 40 points in the game.
Get that juju, catch it on the 10, take it to the end zone play.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There you go. All right. Next on our list, we have Justin Jefferson. I added him to the list, and I don't know how much I love him. I've never drafted him yet. I'm taking Irv Smith over him in a lot of scenarios, especially since we're starting to get him out there in the field. Justin Jefferson, though, has an opportunity to get out there with Diggs gone.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Justin Jefferson?
Honestly,
always.
It makes it so hard with this offseason because one of the things about this offseason is all we have to go on is beat reporters.
Yeah.
And, random reports.
Yeah,
and so, you see, Justin Jefferson is impressing people in camp and, he looks like the clear 2. And then you see, Justin Jefferson's running with the second team offense. And, you just don't know where to kind of place your finger on Justin Jefferson. So for that reason, I'm kind of out. I'd rather just not take the chance, but
and not the highest volume offense in the world,
Yeah,
passing wise?
I believe Kirk Cousins attempted 450. I want to say pass
Sounds
attempts
right.
last
I
season.
have it here, but it sounds ish, right? Yeah, under
Yeah,
500 for sure. Yeah.
definitely. Gary Kubiak taking over. It's just going to be more of the same. They're going to rely
Yeah.
on Dalvin Cook. Adam Thielen is the clear wide receiver one. I think they will create situations where Justin Jefferson will succeed this season. He could get 50 receptions. I definitely see that as a possibility. He could be the wide receiver two on that offense. He could legitimately start opposite Adam Thielen. He's more of a slot receiver, though, from what you've seen in college. And they have. I'm not saying he can't be an outside receiver, but it's a transition, and you have to
Yeah.
take that time into account. Um, so
Well,
just,
to
you
get
were
him
gonna.
up to wide receiver 45, I had to give him 60 receptions to get there, and
It,
6 touchdowns on that 60, which is a pretty good clip too. One for every
yeah,
10 receptions. So
yeah.
that's pretty actually aggressive as I'm looking at it here. But I'm giving him some extra of that
Some.
Diggs love, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty
If
aggressive to
you
get him
remember,
even to that low.
when Diggs and Thielen were both healthy last season, and Diggs is a proven, top 15 talent at the position. Diggs was really bad for fantasy, and Thielen was the
Yeah.
clear one. So,
Yeah.
um, it's tough to buy into Justin Jefferson, not because of his talent, but because, like you mentioned, it's a low volume passing offense, and it's going to stay that way.
All right, so we're saying don't snag this guy. Keep an eye on him, but don't go and grab him in your draft if you still got a draft before the season starts, your late draft. All right. Is there any other wide receivers that you would feel comfortable drafting and starting on your roster and not just waiting to see him catch him on waivers later?
So there are a few. It was Brandon Ayuk was probably going to be the guy, but
Yeah.
his recent injury,
Yeah.
his hamstring injury, is kind of somewhat worrisome. We'll see. We'll just have to see how that goes, and if he's healthy, and Deebo Samuel is not for the 49ers, then yeah, I'm comfortable starting Brandon Ayuk early because they have to throw the ball to someone other than George Kittle,
Yeah. At
and
least they should.
yeah, I mean they don't have to. I have George
Yeah.
Kittle in that redraft league, so they could just throw to George Kittle every down. I would not be upset with that, but you know, Brandon Ayuk would be the de facto one at that point because of
Yeah.
all of the injuries, and he was handpicked by this team in the first round. And I think that says a lot. They
Yeah.
put a lot of investment into the wide receiver core these past few years. Dante Pettis, Jalen Hurd, Deebo Samuel were all top 3 round picks, but none of them were a first round pick like Brandon Ayuk, who compares a lot to Deebo Samuel. So, yeah, I think if he's healthy, he's someone I'm willing to start.
Okay. Okay. Any other? We good on wide receivers, I think.
I think Jerry Jeudy is someone who he'll have stretches, and when he's having those stretches, I'm willing to buy into him. But he's going to be tough to rely on because to me, I think his rookie season will compare to DJ Moore's rookie season, where DJ Moore, I believe, had like 2 separate 4-game stretches where he was really good for fantasy, but then kind of fell off after those. I see Jerry Jeudy in that similar light, but
Yep.
obviously that depends on Drew Lock. Can he
Drew Lock.
actually take the
And
step?
all the question marks there for my Broncos. I get it. The only thing good
I was
I
going
would
to ask
say, right?
real quick. Do you believe in Drew Lock? Do you think he takes the step?
I feel like the man is going to have to chuck the hell out of the ball this year.
I mean, the defense is quote unquote good.
They're good, but we're playing an additional round of Tampa Bay, New Orleans Saints, Falcons. Yeah. just the addition of the rotation of that division and the Chiefs twice. And are the Raiders actually retooled as this fast-paced team, or not fast-paced team, but high-flying team with these additions? I don't know if they are, but it lends itself to him needing to pass more.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what really happens. I'm very torn on it. So I'm hoping that it does.
I think he's. I've preached in the past that if you want a young quarterback to succeed, you have to put him in that position to succeed.
He's in it.
Pat Mahomes, he didn't walk into nothing. He walked into Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, even at that time, Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
He walked into Andy Reid as his coach, a great situation. Yeah. Whereas Drew Lock now has Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Melvin Gordon, and Philip Lindsay at running back, Noah Fant at tight end, and Pat Shurmur as his offensive coordinator. Yeah. So it's set up for Drew Lock. So
yeah, they spent a little bit of work on the offensive line, not as much as I'd like, but I'll take what they did. So it definitely helps. We shall see. Let's kick over to the running back side. So we got a little list of running backs here.
Draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I think we can just say that one and leave that where it is, right?
I had the 107 in this dynasty, well, not dynasty, but redraft league with you. And I talked to some people about trading down, and you were one of them. But in my head, before I really even, talked to anyone, I said, I'm going to be wowed by an offer or I'm not trading down because I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I was one pick away. Alvin Kamara and Clyde Edwards-Helaire were both on the board. So I knew one of them was coming to me, and I have them both as top 5 guys. So, I'm fine with taking, my top 5 running back at the 107. It ended up being Clyde Edwards-Helaire that made it back to me. So, draft him. He's going to be good.
Yeah, draft pick trading is always a little tricky because you have to kind of overpay to get in that premier spot. And I'm a damn cheapskate when it comes to my draft picks. And I hate giving them up. And so it's like, man, I do want what should be there.
Your offer was pretty good, though. I mean, like, it was a second and a third for my first and a fifth. So, I mean, like, it's a trade.
I threw 2 different offers in there to try and
that was the more appealing.
Give you some options. Yeah, I figured as much. Yeah, my wife was drafting me in the Friends and Family League, and she was 7th and I was 8th. And I was like, come on, Clyde. And she sniped me. My damn wife sniped me. She wasn't using my rankings. She was using another set that we firmly trust.
Wow.
And the one I usually use until I made my own this year, and she snagged him right for me. And I said some foul words very loudly. It wasn't the only time she did it to me that night. So, all right. So Clyde, draft him. Done.
Right.
All right. That's the clearest scenario. It's like Josh Jacobs last year. When you know the running back starting, the rookie running back starting, you're a lot more confident in drafting him. So go get him. I don't see another rookie running back on the list that we are confident in starting because I don't think there is any that are currently firmly starting. There's definitely some glimmers that some could be, though.
Right. Week one, it's funny because last season, like, David Montgomery was a guy who I had a lot of confidence in.
Yep.
And week 1, if you remember, Mike Davis week, for some reason, some godforsaken reason, it was Mike Davis week. And he looked atrocious, and they realized that after. But teams are not willing to, they're I don't know if it's just the ode to the veteran or what, but they want to see that veteran first.
Trust.
Yeah.
Some of it's trust, some of it's giving the veteran the love first and letting him lose his job.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, all right. So we got a little long list here, and we're gonna move through them not too quickly, but we're gonna hit them effectively. So
great.
We got Cam Akers here as the first one on the list. I'll let you hit him. I'll let you hit a couple, then I'll hit a couple. So, Cam Akers.
So, Cam Akers is a guy I'm in love with this season.
In love.
Love Cam Akers to this point. So, follow him on Twitter if you don't already, but at Detroit Beastie. Chris Robin, I know
love
you
him.
recently had him on the show. Yeah, I've had him on our podcast a few times as well.
Yeah.
I believe he got this from NFL Network or something, but I saw him a few months ago put this out. Vacated carries by team. The only team that had more than 200 vacated carries was the Los Angeles Rams, which obviously, Todd Gurley leaving, that makes sense. The next closest was LA, the Chargers, with Melvin Gordon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that opening to me is just huge. 234 vacated carries. Like, that is the workhorse role that is up for grabs in Los Angeles. And if you've seen Sean McVay talk about it to this point, he's like, yeah, I envy what Kyle Shanahan has been able to do in San Francisco with his 4 running back committee. But the thing is that Kyle Shanahan isn't necessarily doing that by choice. Like 3 out of the 4 running backs that he used for the most part last season were undrafted. Between Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, and Jeff Wilson. And then Tevin Coleman, I mean, he was a 3rd-round pick, yeah, but what was that, 5-6 years ago now? So Tevin Coleman is not what he was when he was an Atlanta Falcon. So I feel like the Kyle Shanahan committee is more by necessity than anything.
And injury.
Whereas, and injury, because, Tevin Coleman probably would have kept the job for the most part of the season had he not got injured last season too. Jerick McKinnon was signed to be the guy. But Cam Akers versus Darrell Henderson, John Kelly, and Malcolm Brown. Like, Malcolm Brown, the trust is there, but he's not going to be, a great running back in the NFL, even if you were to put him on the field and make him, into that Todd Gurley mold. John Kelly is a former 7th-round pick and hasn't gotten really any playing time, despite being on the Rams for 2 seasons now. And then Darrell Henderson, he was a 3rd-round pick last season, but the Rams had a ton of holes to fill this season and didn't have a 1st-round pick because they traded it for Jalen Ramsey, and still felt the need to spend their 1st pick on Cam Akers. I'm not willing to trust him week 1, like I said. But I don't think it's going to take very long for Sean McVay to realize this is our best running back, and we need to, give him that role and make him the premier guy on this team.
Okay, I like it.
Right now, 1 quarterback leagues, I believe, is in the 5th round, and in that Superflex league, I was kicking myself because he was there for me in the 7th round, and I just didn't even realize it. I took another guy that I love.
Let's hate that.
I just completely didn't realize it. And, I would have been so ecstatic to get Cam Akers in the 7th. I think he's going to have a huge season.
Yeah. All right. Next, let's talk about Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. not talking about Dobbins.
Right.
I mean,
he's got a big hurdle, but then he's got if they use him like they did the Gus Bus alone, that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. I love J.K. Dobbins. I had him my RB2. I believe he was my pre-draft RB2 behind only Taylor.
Okay.
I really liked what I saw on film. I thought he could do a little bit of everything. And Baltimore is just a perfect landing spot because with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, any running back can succeed. So, putting a very talented and young running back like J.K. Dobbins in that situation, it's beautiful. Now, we've already projected that Mark Ingram is going to remain the guy at least for this season.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how long into the future? But for this season, I think J.K. Dobbins has late season upside, though. The way they've talked about him, he has upside if he were to kind of, at least split into like a 50-50 role with he and Mark Ingram.
Yeah, he's a 8th-round pick, so you've got your lineup filled up. You're picking him up. You're stashing him for a while, see what happens, see what his workload is. totally see that. Without Ingram getting hurt, granted his touchdown receptions are going to come down. His touchdowns will probably back up a little, but he's just still a good running back, even for being a little bit of an old man Jenkins. He's still a good running back, and he's also a little bit of a loudmouth guy, and so I feel like he'll be given the Peterson death stare if you don't have him in there enough. I think he'd be a little bit of a ruckus maker without injury, just pushing him to the side. I don't see him going quietly into the night.
Yeah, no, he definitely won't. Really quick, I just want to bring up Baltimore's playoff schedule. And fantasy playoff schedule. So weeks 14, 15, 16. They play Cleveland, which is okay, solid. I know you saw me get handed the spoon.
Oh, sorry. For those who are watching on the YouTube, you saw that. For those who aren't watching, it's Beyonce, I assume, just stuck her arm in the picture with a spoon right here like this. I don't know why. I love it. It cracked me up.
Wanted it out of the way, and now I'm getting handed a cat for some reason. I'm not sure.
Right.
So I'm not sure. Anyway,
playoff schedule.
The playoff schedule, Ravens play Cleveland, which is okay, but then Jacksonville and the New York Giants. So those are, I mean, Cleveland's more of a middle of the road one, but Jacksonville and New York are really great matchups. And those are playoff weeks. Those are championship weeks. So, there is a good reason to kind of take J.K. Dobbins if he can take that role later on in the season.
Yeah, I like it. I like being able to fill up the backside of the roster with some. After you got a couple, you got a good depth piece for running back, good depth piece for wide receiver, depending on how deep your bench is. It's nice to take those shot guys that have a chance to either develop or show up right away, depending on where they sit. So I love it. And Little Miss Swift.
I have no idea, honestly.
Okay.
In theory, Kerryon Johnson's going to get hurt, right? I mean,
is that theory? Is that really theory?
Or is it a guarantee at this point?
We never want to A, wish bad luck on a guy, and B, we never want to project injury.
Yeah.
But if you are just more injury, I don't want to say injury prone, but I just did. So if you're more injury prone, then you just are.
Yeah. Some guys are just built like that, and it's been his MO through college now into the pros. And, it's like I said, I wish he could come out and play 16 games this season and then kind of show into the future that he has a future as a workhorse. But, sometimes you got to just admit what we've seen so far.
Are you willing to throw that early sixth round pick on him, though? Without knowing that the other guy is hurt?
It's tough. It's tough because what I really, really believe is that they're going to keep this a committee, because it's not like Kerryon Johnson isn't talented. Right, he's a really talented running back. He was a second round pick for a reason, and I think that their theory is, well, if we, use a committee here, have Kerryon on about half the time, Andre Swift on about half the time. Both of them are very talented. Yeah, exactly. They will cut into each other's stats a bit, but their health will remain, and so that'll help not only themselves but the team as well. So if that were to happen, which I mean, Swift would need the Kerryon Johnson injury in order to take that step into being a top 15 running back for me. Which, like I said, I won't project injury, and it's hard to say, even if you were to say, well, he's for sure getting injured. You don't know when it's going to be. So it could very well be week 16. And at that point, you're kind of lost, because you could draft Swift early and he could kind of just be mediocre for you because he and Kerryon Johnson are eating into each other.
Sure. All right. So after two rookie, probably handcuffs, probably not a lot of standalone value on this list, added to your last three guys here. I threw Darrington Evans in here, which I have a little love affair with. I had three out of my 4 drafts so far. I
He was pretty
snagged
good.
him.
He was pretty good in college.
Yeah, I was gonna snag him this one, and the guy that poked fun at me on Twitter, he grabbed both Rager and Everton's on a turn before it came back to me, so I couldn't get either one of the two I was going to target there. He did it on purpose, I think. And DJ Dallas I'm taking him, I think, one place just as a sneaky backup to carry on. The opportunity could be there.
Yeah.
More likely he'll just get cut. But if he doesn't,
right.
Carry on.
So Darrington Evans, let's start. Backup to Derrick Henry.
Workhorse Derrick Henry.
Right. So he will have legit no role unless Henry were to get hurt. But I feel as though that
he has some decent hands, does he not?
He's pretty good. A lot of people project him to kind of step into the quote unquote Deion Lewis role, but I mean like Deion Lewis's role with the Titans over the past 2 years has been,
minimal.
Minimal to say the least.
Yeah.
So I don't see a lot of value in him unless Derrick Henry were to get hurt. But if Derrick Henry were to get hurt, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where I would place him then. But this Tennessee offense is kind of. I mean, it's definitely built to run the football, and I don't think a Derrick Henry injury would just stop them from doing that. So he would get work. And so for that, he's someone you should definitely keep on the radar. He's not. I wouldn't put him on the same tier of handcuffs as like Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, and them, but I would probably put him on the next tier down as far as handcuffs.
See, I'd probably put him closer to Pollard than I would Madison. Madison will get some individual work, kind of like a Kareem Hunt would. I feel like Pollard, to be useful, needs Zeke to go down, and Zeke doesn't like to do that. So
Madison tends to, like, if Minnesota's ahead, Madison will take over in the fourth quarter, gives Dalvin Cook some rest.
Yeah. Versus Henry, just that's when he breaks his 80-yard touchdowns. In the fourth quarter, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
DJ Dallas, he's kind of interesting because I see him more as the Rashad Penny type than Chris Carson. So Chris Carson's the clear-cut starter, right? And then you have Carlos Hyde behind him, DJ Dallas, and then you have Rashad Penny, who's starting on the pup. And I mean, when is he exactly coming back from his torn ACL? We don't really know. So I'm not really counting Rashad Penny as active for this season. So this running back room to me is Chris Carson, DJ Dallas, Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde will be ahead of DJ Dallas because of being a veteran, having that trust. But I think DJ Dallas plays a role that is more fit to being a complement to Chris Carson than Carlos Hyde does. And like Carlos Hyde is like putting Carlos Hyde, taking Chris Carson off the field and putting Carlos Hyde in is redundant because Carlos Hyde would be a worse Chris Carson. Whereas DJ Dallas would give you some pop and play a sort of different role as a pass catcher.
Right.
So he couldn't have a role in this offense earlier than we think. And the Seahawks are a team where we've seen this before with Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. Chris Carson, the former 7th-round pick, Rashad Penny, a former 1st-round pick, where they don't care about draft capital. So if DJ Dallas is good and shows up well in camp, then I think he'll have a role on this team. So he's worth the dart throw to me.
Speaking of dart throws, let's talk about these last 3 guys. Let's talk about Gibson Kelly and Antonio Gandy Golden.
Now, Gandy Golden is a wide receiver. But
he is, and somehow he ended up in that section. But
he can fit in here because he is kind of a dart throw.
He is.
I'll start with Gandy Golden real quick. But as far as Washington, I will say that pass catchers, period, I don't want anyone besides Terry McLaurin. So if Alex Smith were to take over, it's a different question. I think I'd be more inclined to buy into some of these guys, but as long as it's Dwayne Haskins, I'm only going to trust that he can support Terry McLaurin. And I think I'll be lucky if he even does that, honestly, for this season. So I'm not really interested in Gandy Golden for this season. I think he has a future as being opposite Terry McLaurin, but apparently Dontrell Inman is running with the ones over Gandy Golden, and then Steven Sims and Trey Quinn are fighting for the slot job. So
let me ask you this question, because I agree. I barely like their passing game, and I don't love their running game, but somehow I have this weird addiction to their running game this year. Like, I want to get that guy that's going to happen, right? That, because it doesn't matter if it's AP or Gibson or Love. It doesn't matter which one it is. You can get them all for free.
Yeah.
Really late.
Yeah.
One of them should be the starter. Is it the veteran? Is it Love, who's a rookie, the second-year rookie that's coming back from injury, and they want to see what he's got? Is it the new rookie? Which one is it? I don't know. There was actually one draft. I said, no, I'll skip on AP just because of that. And second and third, last round, whatever. I grabbed one on the way and grabbed Love on the way back, just because, you know what? If one of these guys do pop, great. Yeah. I just got a free starter on a team that I'm not even sure is worth having a starter on. I don't know why I did it. Or I just found myself 2 new streaming spots, and I'm good there too.
Yeah, definitely. Or you could flip them, like they have one good week, and then everyone's like, oh, yeah, I got to get this guy, so.
Sure. Flip one and get rid of the other.
Yeah, cut them, let them go forever. Yeah, in that league that we were talking about, I took Bryce Love, I want to say third to last round.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about free. And, so what I'm seeing so far is Adrian Peterson as the 1, Bryce Love as the 2, Antonio Gibson as the 3. But, I mean, Gibson's the best pass catcher of the 3. So is he going to take third down work? Is he going to be utilized as a wide receiver? Is he just going to be utilized as a running back or as a receiver out of the backfield? It's kind of hard to put your finger on it. I'll take Adrian Peterson because I think Adrian Peterson, he looked good last season for this team. It didn't necessarily translate to a ton of fantasy success because his team is just bad. But I think he's going to finish higher than the other 2. Like, I think he'll be the highest scoring Washington football team running back. I know it's so weird to say Washington football team, but here we are in this crazy time of the world.
Said it before, I'll say it again. You guys need to make your name the Washington Warriors. You don't have to change your logos. All right.
I don't know about the getting away with not changing the logos part, but I do like the ring of the Washington Warriors. They should make it work.
Good, right? All right. Last guy on this list is Mr. Kelly. And
Joshua.
Joshua Kelly.
We're on a first name basis now.
We are. I like Mr. Kelly. It sounded kind of cool. So I'm kind of torn here. I could see him maybe getting the work as the second back over there with the Chargers. I just can't see him taking enough work from Eckler, even if he gets the spot from day one, is the problem I have. And then him not being the receiving back either, I feel like just crushes him. Like Justin Jackson doesn't feel much better either. But
right, like Eckler is the receiving back, and there's no debate about that.
Yeah.
The question would be, who gets the goal line?
Goal line work.
Because that was Melvin Gordon last season. Got 191 carries. It was very interesting. After the Chargers fired, that's the word, Ken Wisenhunt midseason, and then hired Steve Steichen, who's their offensive coordinator now. I believe it was week 8 that they fired Wisenhunt, so week 9 on. Austin Eckler was the running back 8, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
But Melvin Gordon was the running back 7. So very
some
close
points there.
Game.
Yeah.
This offense can utilize 2 running backs. But the thing is that Melvin Gordon is a talented running back.
Yeah.
And how talented is Justin Jackson? How talented is Joshua Kelly? So
and does their new quarterback play the same way their old quarterback played?
Right, where, Melvin Gordon still had receptions last season. Tyrod Taylor, I really don't think he checks down very much. You look at how LaShawn McCoy performed when Tyrod Taylor was his quarterback in Buffalo. It's just, he's a good runner because having a rushing quarterback opens things up in the running lanes. But as a passer, he's just not checking the ball down very often because he can run it himself.
Yeah.
So I think it takes that upside away. It's between Kelly and Josh Jackson for the goal line work for me. Now, my co-host, Billy, if you want to follow him on Twitter, everyone at Getting Bills.
Getting Bills. Look at that. A co-host who's giving his buddy who's not even on the show some love. You got to respect that.
He's been my friend for a while now. So, I'd feel like I was cheating on him if I didn't do that.
Well, you sort of are.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
Oh boy. He's still listening.
He is a Josh Kelly truther. So he would be, if he were here, he would say it's going to be Josh Kelly.
Jackson. Got it.
Right. He would be the one to say that. But I don't know. The trust, we've talked about coach trust when it comes to the running back position. They trust Justin Jackson. He's been there for years. It's not like he's a bad running back. So honestly, it's a toss up. But even if let's say it does become Josh Kelly, right? What's his ceiling? 8 rushing touchdowns off those. So what then would you be happy playing him half of his games? So
guessing which games he's useful and guessing which games he's not. Depends on how many flexes you have. How about that?
Yeah.
You got enough flexes, you can slide anybody in that third flex, maybe even the second flex, but not the first flex.
If you have 5 flex spots.
Wow, you went really deep.
Then I
hate you. All right, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm not opposed to the Chargers running game, and I'm kind of off on Eckler. I mean, not off. Like he's still a top 15 guy, but I don't have him as high as a lot of people do.
Yeah, the train has left the station for him.
Yeah, so there could be value with one of these 2 running backs. So they're both going very late / being undrafted. So there are guys that you could definitely sit back and wait on and watch and see what happens. So I think I would go that route.
All right. Or pick them up on waiver wires a little late if they're there.
Yeah, definitely.
You said, wait.
I just saw a pick in our FFL's alumni league. So that
means I'm up.
That means you're up. So
well, we were going to exit this damn show, but we're not going to now. All right, here's my team. Those listening, yell out who you want me to take. I can't hear you, but I'm listening. All right, I got Zeke in the first round. I'm going from the 5th in a 14-team half PPR, half point per first down. I took Zeke Elliott, let Kamara and Clyde Edwards pass me by and took Zeke. Came back around the second round, and I wanted to go running back. But because of Superflex and 4 or 5 running quarterbacks coming off the board, 2 tight ends coming off the board, Devontae Adams came to me. I had to take the man. Seemed wrong not to, so I took him. I wasn't going Godwin. That's just not my thing. Third round, I said I got to take a quarterback before I don't get in trouble. I took Josh Allen, came back around, got DJ Moore, solidified that wide receiver core a little. Came back around, got Gardner Minshew as quarterbacks were leaving the board. I could have had Jimmy G, not a fan. Could have had Joe Burrow. Kirk Cousins, no. Could have took a chance on Cam Newton. Didn't. All right. So I could have Goff. Oh, no, Goff went right before me. That's probably who I would have took otherwise. But all right. After that, I took Tyler Boyd. So it's a start 3 wide receiver with 2 regular flex and a super flex. So at this point, I've got Zeke, my stud running back. I got my wide receiver core on pretty good lockdown, I feel. After that, I take Mark Ingram. Let's get that second running back in there. Should get some love. I got this weird little affliction with Cohen this year. I feel like he's going to have a bounce back season, get more receptions. And with the half point per reception, half point per first down, I said, let's do it.
Yeah.
I went with New York Giant, probably the wrong one in Golden Tate, but I took Golden Tate. I figured why not? Came back around, got Alexander Madison because I like him as a handcuff and maybe a little standalone value. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Next 2 rounds, I figured it was time to grab my tight ends because I don't have any, and it is tight end premium. I grabbed Blake Jarwin and Chris Herndon back to back. I like the opportunity for both those guys. One of those guys hopefully will pop for me.
Right.
Been grabbing Boston Scott in a couple drafts lately. I like his opportunity as a committee back. If they go committee, I like his opportunity as the back, a share of a bigger back. Should
he was someone I was looking at with that pick. So not a snipe.
There we go.
You're not exactly in front of me, but close to it.
Yeah. So should Sanders go down? There's my name disease for you. Should Sanders go down? He has a great opportunity amongst just having good committee back or third down back opportunity by himself. And you never know with that receiver core. You might see both running backs on the field at the same time. Yeah. After that, I went Paris Campbell. I actually wanted to go with Corey Davis there, and I didn't. I have some weird thing for Corey Davis. Think he's gonna have a better rebound this year, but I don't know. It's late, and I was just feeling silly. I didn't take him anyway. I took Paris Campbell because I still like Paris Campbell better. I probably made the right decision. And then Marcus Mariota because I don't have a third quarterback, and in this league, if you don't get one, you're spending. Yeah. So I was going to go wide receiver here, but I think I'm comfortable with my wide receivers. I was going to go running back here. Not really. I don't really like anything left on the running back board. I'm not going to look too far down the list, but I'm going to say no.
You could take Darius Geis. He is a
I'm
value.
not taking Darius Geis. He was drafted. I'm not taking Darius Geis. All right. This is going to be probably a throwaway pick, a future flex waiver wire spot for me. But in the odd chance, and he came up a few times in this conversation, I'm going to take Mr. Alex Smith. I saw him out there trying to get on the field, and I just don't love what's his face?
Haskins. Yeah.
Haskins.
There's not a lot to love. Not a lot to love.
So there's my team. That was fun.
I in the same league, draft him from the 7th spot. So I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 107. I have him as a top 5 back, so I love that. George Kittle, I have him as my tight end 1 because, all the wide receivers going down. And as you mentioned, tight end premium, so I put a little emphasis on getting Kittle.
Yeah, it's a big advantage.
Drew Brees in round 3, because I just knew that if I didn't take Brees, then I would not have my pick of the litter at the quarterback position.
Yep.
4th round, I got David Montgomery just because, he's a solid RB2 in my opinion because of the workload, the guaranteed workload. And really, after him, there was James Conner, and there was very little at the running back position. So I had to grab one there. And then the 5th round, screaming value, Robert Woods there. A.J. Brown in the 6th round, I thought he was a beautiful guy to pair with Robert Woods because of the style of play. Brandon Cooks, another guy I'm in love with in the 7th round. Like I mentioned earlier, I wish I'd taken Cam Akers, but we made it through. And like I said, I do like Brandon Cooks, so I'm not upset. I ended up getting James White in the 8th round, and this is half point PPR, so he will have a solid role. Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert back to back, 9th, 10th. I do like
up the second quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I do like Tyrod for this season. He's not a great quarterback, but he's always solid at fantasy, so that makes it work for me. Deshaun Jackson there in the 11th round. I would have taken Emmanuel Sanders, but he was taken 1 pick before me, so I was
already in the wrong direction. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying I would have took Emmanuel Sanders there, and then you explain why. Okay, got it.
But yeah, Jackson. I mean, right now he's looking like the wide receiver 1 for Philly because of the way things are working out. Jerick McKinnon and Bryce Love back to back, 12th, 13th rounds. Those are my shots at the running back position. Really, you know, Jerick McKinnon is someone who's been getting. Both of them have been getting a lot of love at camp. So you know, there's a chance that they're both used and can crack a flex spot in my lineup.
Yeah.
Some extra depth at the running back position too.
Yeah.
Will Disley, because he's been great.
I got a love affair with that man. I'd love to have him on my team more than 2 weeks.
The 2-week wonder of Will Disley every season.
Yeah. Yep.
Russell Gage at the 15th round, which I think is solid. You know, he's not going to be a world beater, but he's someone there where, like, if you know one of my wide receivers has COVID, I could play Russell Gage if I really need to.
Yeah.
And finished it out by drafting Jameis Winston just to have that handcuff for Drew Brees. It's not necessarily my strategy, but if Drew Brees were to get hurt, you'd pay your entire budget to get.
You would, especially in a super flex, and especially in a 14 team. The more teams there are, like 14 teams, you're usually starting 2 quarterbacks. That's 28 teams a week. Yeah. Okay, that's on a good week. That's assuming someone else doesn't have 3 quarterbacks, which they do, and that's also assuming there's not bye weeks. Yeah. Those happen too. So yeah, not a bad move, man. Not a bad move. So locked up both backfields, and there you go. And eventually, if one takes over, you can just cut the other one and pick up someone else off the waiver wire to have another opportunity. So So cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. That was a good time. Yeah, and it's kind of fun breaking down our teams in the end too. Don't always get to do that live on the air, so I love it. Before we go, why don't you remind everybody where your work can be found?
Sure thing. At Fantasy Force FB on Twitter, at Dynasty Force Pod for my podcast. We air Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Twitter and YouTube, and we can be found on all major streaming platforms. Dynasty Force Podcast, YouTube as well, if you just so happen to want to see our faces.
All right, cool. I can be found on Twitter at Bob's3Toad, on YouTube, so you can see the beautiful faces as you said, and that's but it's Bob's3Toad Warriors. Facebook would be the Word on the Streets Fantasy Football Podcast group. So that's that. Plenty of shows to watch. Just keep them subscribed. Keep the notification bells going, and you get all those notifications. You'll find out when they're out right away. But for Robert, this has been Bob's 3-Toed Warriors saying soon enough you'll be able to hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, and dominate your opponents. But until then, we'll see you.
Enjoy.
Feel the force. Fantasy Force. #Boom says Bob.